Hi friends, I'm Liz.
I'm Robbie. Welcome back to our channel, Bookworm Couple. We are doing another monthly wrap-up and TBR, look forward for next month.
Dibber.
Yeah, we're late, we know.
Yeah, sorry.
Is anyone really surprised?
No.
And we didn't
She
read as
can't
much
keep
as
on
we
a
were
schedule,
supposed
this
to
girl right here.
this week, but it happens. It's
Yeah,
okay.
you know.
We're back again.
We're
We made it
back.
through another month. We were traveling a lot at the latter half of October, and so we meant to record some stuff and just didn't.
Here we are.
It just didn't happen. So anyway, we're back
'Cause
though.
life.
We're excited to talk about all the stuff that we read this month.
Indeed.
Yes. So what did we
Well,
do on the channel first?
We did. We finished the Heroes of Olympus series.
We did. We finished the Heroes of Olympus in. Unfortunately, I felt somewhat anticlimactic
Yeah.
fashion. Not my
a
favorite.
lot of cutie patootie moments, but I thought the one previous to this book was better. But
Yes, the
still
House of
enjoyed the
Hades.
book. House of Hades, yeah.
Yes.
I
The
wanted
penultimate book, not the ultimate book. Of
No,
that
not the
series,
ultimate.
Even though you thought that like 3 times.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did 40 times.
Yes, you did. But
That was a good one.
yeah, yes. But the Blood of Olympus, not my favorite. I think I gave it a 3, maybe a 3.5.
It wasn't bad by any means.
It was
but
just
it
not.
Yeah, it wasn't what I wanted.
Yeah, the actual very ending of the book, I thought was very good.
Delightful.
How we got there, not my favorite, unfortunately.
And then you read something.
I read the most recent book in A Court of Thorns and Roses, A Court of Silver Flames.
Correct, you nailed
I
it.
believe, and I like this book quite a bit. I think I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I understand why people don't like this. If you don't like Nesta, it's going to be a rough go. I would just say probably don't bother. But if you don't like Nesta, it's just not. I mean,
But maybe try.
okay. I'll amend that. I actually don't like Nesta that much either, but I enjoyed this book and I liked the journey that she went on.
It's not a happy-go-lucky book. It's a hard, devastating journey, but I think it's worth the read.
If you can't stand reading Nesta, then I still say probably just don't
Yeah, but
bother.
you
It's
gotta
not
see
your
her
thing.
journey.
But I thought her journey was well done. If you're literally going to spend every page being like,
Yeah.
God, Nesta sucks.
Rage
then
reading.
Don't bother. It's a long book, so
I can
just
imagine
don't do
rage
it.
reading
I
an
read
entire
this
book.
very quickly, and I did think it was.
It moves.
For the most part, it moves very well. I think for the most part, it was very engaging. I think that Nesta's journey is by far the most interesting aspect of it, and other aspects of the plot didn't need to be there.
Sure.
But for more of my thoughts, you can see our video.
Yeah.
Liz and I argue about that quite a bit.
Correct,
And
as we are still arguing about it, apparently. Great, good.
Because I'm right. Okay.
And then I did not read a Reel of Time book this month, even though I was super supposed to.
You did. Give yourself some credit.
I have read it. I'm
You've
about
been reading
halfway
it.
through, so it will
Yes.
be in November.
We hope.
It's just, we hope. I got a little distracted this month by many things, by travels and by other books.
A lot of things going on.
But we're getting into it.
So speaking of other books, what else did you read this month on your own?
I read a couple of books. I read my first cowboy romance.
I didn't know that this was a thing. Though I should have expected it,
Come
I
on.
suppose. That's kind of stupid.
Yeah,
of
and
me.
it wasn't that I was against it. I've just never been like a Western cowboy country music girl in any way in my life. So I was kind of like, oh, cowboy romance.
You married me, so obviously.
Oh boy.
Not.
What a joke. Yeah, so it wasn't that I was hesitant to read it, just never was like, yes, cowboy romance. And a friend of mine was like, you simply have to try them. Unlocked a new obsession for me.
Great.
Absolutely obsessed. I started the Chestnut Spring series by Elsie Silver, read the first 2 books, and am a good portion of the way into the 3rd book. I believe there's 4 or 5.
Wow.
I love it. I was talking to a friend of mine, and there's just something about, and I've talked a little bit about it on this channel, there's just something about the very hyper masculine idea of a cowboy or a hockey player. That's why these romances, I think, are so popular, that just like innately gets to the like base feminine in me. And while all of the events and insane jealousy and definitely a bit of toxic masculinity, blah, 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 there you go,
Don't try it again. You did it the one time. We're good.
It's not that there's a ton of that in these books, but there's definitely a decent amount, and they're sexy as hell, and there's something about it I just absolutely love. The stories are very much little soap operas, incredibly overdramatic. It's similar to any sort of one-off romance book I think that I've read. Even I've talked about hockey romances in the past. It's like they are the most overdramatic soap operas of books, but how enticing and what quick reads and how exciting. And I do think Elsie Silver does a great job of allowing you to know who the characters are. Each of these books goes back and forth between the two. POVs goes back and forth between the two main characters, two major love interests in the book. And so you really get to know these characters inside and out, and their relationships develop very fast, and it's just lovely. I think they're great. I'm absolutely addicted. I've already started recommending them to other people. So those are 2 books that I read. So the first book is Flawless, and then the next book is Heartless.
Both in the same series?
Both in the same
Flawless,
series.
Heartless, I see the theme.
The current one I'm reading is Powerless?
Well, I bet it ends with less if nothing else.
I don't remember.
You already said Heartless.
Great. I don't remember what. Third book. The third book also, this is an addendum for next time, is a hockey player who is also a cowboy. So.
Wow. Really?
Watch out,
it's just
girls!
a crossover event. None
Yeah,
of us
it really
knew
is.
we needed.
100%. Literally exactly that. So those have been fun. And then the third book that I read on my own. Yeah, that's right. The third book I read on my own was Rekindling the Flame, which is by Madison Myers. This was a advanced reader copy that I got, which was the first time I've ever done that. ARC, if you will. This is going to be part of a series. At least it says it's part of the Smoky Heights series number 1. It's number 1. I really enjoyed it. I thought, again, very spicy from the get-go, which was fun and interesting because it didn't unexcite me, but it was a lot. There wasn't as much of the build-up as there is in a lot of other romances, but the spice was spicy, and it was great. This is about a woman who has left her very, very small town in the mountains to live in New York, becomes a very successful lawyer, and then finds out that her mom is dying, and so comes back home to take care of her and spend as much time with her as she can. Runs into her old flame while she's there. Okay, rekindling the flame. There's a lot of family dynamic in this. It was very fun. At first I was kind of rolling my eyes at the idea of it. Very Hallmark movie-esque in, successful woman from a small town, lives in the big city, comes back to her hometown. And I liked it. I think it was good. It was a little bit triggering for me as a person who left their not small town, but medium-ish town for a big city, and a lot of the same dynamics I feel kind of when I come back home. It's good. I liked it. I thought it was cute. Very easy read. I'm excited to read more from the author.
Cool.
Anyways, that was a million years of talking. Now go, Robbie.
Is that everything you read this month?
That's everything I read this month.
That's fun.
Okay, Robbie, what did you read this month?
So I read more than I thought I did this month. Looking back on it, it was actually a pretty big reading month for me. One of them was a novella, though, which I was like, it makes sense now that I managed to squeeze in an extra book there. Baby. The first book I read this month was The Lost Metal by Brandon Sanderson, the final book in the Mistborn Era 2 quartet. I like this book. I gave it a 4 out of 5.
So many numbers and words in that. In the Mistborn number 2 side quest.
Mistborn Era 2 quartet.
Quartet?
What?
That just seems like, that's literally I know you've told me the Cosmere and Brandon Sanderson is very epic, but I just when you did that, my brain went on the family tree.
Okay, sure, fine.
Anyway, quartet.
The Lost Metal, which I think I said I was going to read last month, but said the wrong title. Anyway, so I finished the Mistborn Era 2 quartet, and I like this book. This was another 4. This whole thing, the whole Mistborn Era 2 quartet, I went in, I don't know, I'd heard from multiple people that it wasn't that good, and I actually quite liked it for the most part. So this whole book is much more Cosmere related than any of the others by a very wide margin. And I liked that for the most part. It felt abrupt somewhat to me. There were certain characters that were introduced that I was just like, whoa, okay, we're just fully, okay.
Okay.
I can't say anything about spoilers. So,
no, I know.
It's just that certain situations and certain characters, I was just kind of surprised. I was like, oh, wow, this seems like it really came out of absolutely nowhere. And there's stuff there to back it up, but it's just, it did feel like a kind of a big departure. Yes, anyway, lots of Cosmere connections, and yeah, I like this book, 4 out of 5. If you've gotten far enough that you're thinking about reading this book, you're going to read it anyway. You don't need me to sell it to you. Next book. The next thing I read was a novella, also by Brandon Sanderson, just because I was in the mood, called The Emperor's Soul. This is in the same world as Elantris. I believe the first book that he had published, or one of his very early books.
Q2 side quest B-side.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
And it covers a completely different part of that world that is not related at all to Elantris. And this was great. I give this a 5 out of 5 stars. This novella is really, really good. It's nice and short, which is always fun, obviously, because it's a novella. But also, it's just like super compelling. It is a woman who has been essentially imprisoned. She's a thief and a forger. And the way that magic works, they are essentially asking her to create a forgery of the emperor's personality because he has been injured and they don't want anyone to know and they want him to retain power. And it is her and basically one other person in one room for the whole thing over the course of about 100 days. And it is fascinating. Fantastic read. I blew through it in like 2 hours and just really couldn't put it down. Really great, like, edge of your seat pacing. It was simple but very effective and I liked it a lot. The next thing that I read after that was He Who Fights with Monsters by Shirtaloon. I don't know what the author's actual name is, but that's their tag. This is a lit RPG. Thank you, TikTok, for recommending this. And I enjoyed this. It's very similar to I think a lot of lit RPGs. It's isekai. Character wakes up in another world and has to deal with it, but all of the lit RPG things apply. You see his stats, he has an inventory, he can level up, he can chat people, he gets quests. And it absolutely scratched the lit RPG itch and filled the lit RPG shaped hole in my life since I caught up with Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Oh, sad.
However, I think I gave this about a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I liked it. As I said, it scratched that itch. I'm probably going to read the second one. I think that it could have used some editing. The writing quality was not as high as, say, Dungeon Crawler Carl, and definitely not as high as some of the heavier and denser standard fantasy books that I read. And it's not that was necessarily, like, it wasn't super bad, and it was very easy and quick to read. However, it was just very long. I think it was like 850 or more pages. And it was interesting. The thing that really occurred to me is the author never really let you draw lines yourself. If a character was thinking something or did an action, someone would say why they did that explicitly within the next scene.
Interesting.
Like, if someone did something weird and the character was just nonplussed, then someone else would say, like, they did that for this reason, right? Like, you never got to decide that or figure it out for yourself.
Interesting.
And it was very kind of odd. The main character, however, is Australian, which was interesting. I don't think I've ever read an Australian main character, and has what I believe in my experience with Australian people, very accurate sense of humor and loves an abbreviation. So that was very fun. So if you like lit RPGs and you're looking for another lit RPG, this is going to scratch that itch for you. It's not the highest quality thing I've ever read, but it's power creep and he levels up and there's fun found family and I like the characters in it. And so it's a nice, easy read to kind of cleanse the palate if you're reading anything a little bit heavier, which is why I like them so much.
Yeah.
And then the last book that I read this month was The Fury of the Gods by John Gwynne. Now, this just came out a few weeks ago. This is the final book in the Bloodsworn saga, and it's been a few years since the second one came out. This book rocked. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. It's Norse-themed mythology. If you've been watching our videos, you've heard me talking about this for the past 2 months. Norse-themed fantasy, not mythology, excuse me. But this book is great. It wraps up most of the plot lines. I will also say, in my opinion, no spoilers at all, does not feel like the end of this world. It feels like there's enough open-ended stuff that there could be another series in this. I mean, I know that John Gwynne's first series, names are escaping me right now, but there were 2 series set in that world, so it wouldn't surprise me if there was another series set in the world of Vigrid, I believe is how you pronounce it. And I hope he does, because this book was great. Really satisfying conclusions to a lot of the characters' plot lines. I will say I thought the last quarter or third of the book is one massive battle, and so much stuff happens so fast. Some of it did feel a little bit rushed toward the end, but I was just happy to be in this world with these characters again. I really cannot recommend this series highly enough, especially now that it is over. It is finished, so you will get to read the whole thing, no waiting for the next part. So if you have been waiting to pick this series up, do it. You will not regret it. It is fantastic. And I believe it's a New York Times bestseller now, too. So absolutely pick it up. And it's been reprinted a lot of places, so you should be able to find it pretty easy.
Amazing.
Yeah, but that is everything that I read this month.
Me too.
What are we going to read for the channel next month?
Next month, I'm going to finish Winter's Heart. You bet I am. Book 9 in the Wheel of Time.
You're getting so close.
I know. I'm really excited to... When does Brandon Sanderson start?
I believe book 11.
Book 11. Okay, interested. I'm just very excited
It might be book 12.
I'm just intrigued to get a different... Like, I don't know that I've read any book series that have multiple authors.
Yeah.
So, very intrigued by that.
Sure.
Yeah. Period.
We're getting there. And then I am going to read the first book in the Crescent City series, also by Sarah J. Maas. I'm going to be all caught up by Sarah J. Maas so soon.
Yeah.
And it is called A House of Earth and Blood.
Correct.
House of Earth and Blood.
I always forget those.
So I am going to be reading that this month. I think we will probably take a month off of our middle grade and younger
books.
our together books. So we've been reading a lot of Rick Riordan stuff for the whole time the channel existed. Really, we just finished another series, and we're not sure where we're going to go next yet. What we're going to read. So I think we might not do anything with that for this month, especially because you have so much dense reading to do with Wheel of Time. But are there any books that you are looking forward to reading on your own?
Cowboy romances.
More
apparently.
cowboy romances.
Well, I'm going to finish what is out of the Chestnut Spring series, and then classic Liz play library roulette to see which ones are there for me.
Sure.
Request them all, see which ones are available. Yeah, that's really all I have planned, because I would like to get a lot of reading done this month so that I could do a lot of fun holiday romances in December. That's my goal.
Love that.
What about you?
So I have a few things that I'm excited to read this month. I'm going to read The Sunlit Man by Brandon Sanderson, which I think will have me mostly caught up on all of my Cosmere stuff before Wind and Truth comes out in December.
How many books is that?
I have no idea.
Oh, great.
So many? I have not counted.
Great.
A bunch. But I'll have caught up on most of the major Cosmere stuff, I think. And then I will, at some point in this month, also probably read a very detailed synopsis of the first 4 books of the Stormlight Archive, because I read Rhythm of War last year, and I simply can't justify reading another 4,000 pages plus of this stuff before the 5th one comes out. There's too many other things I want to read.
Sure.
So I feel pretty comfortable remembering what happened in Rhythm of War, but I want to really read a very detailed synopsis. So I will do that, which isn't really a book, but I'm still very excited for Wind of Truth in December. So Sunlit Man. Other than that, I'm not sure. I think I'm finally going to try and pick up the second book of the Powder Mage trilogy, which I read the first one, I don't know, a month or 2 ago. And otherwise, maybe book 2 of He Who Fights with Monsters, maybe some other progression fantasy or lit RPG series. It really depends. I'm not sure yet, but definitely Sunlit Man. And hopefully second book in the Powder Mage trilogy.
Great. Yeah. Phenomenal.
Yeah, should be good. How much fun. Yeah, but that's really everything from us. Let us know what you read this past month, what you're planning to read, and what you're excited about. But otherwise, thanks for sticking with us through another month in which we didn't get all of the things we thought we were going to get out. We appreciate you continuing to watch, even though our release schedule is haphazard at best. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and
we'll see you on our next adventure.